is full, but they did add more seats.
Yeah.
So it was kind of hard to tell. Yeah. So it was a good turnout. Yeah.
All right, now we go ahead to, like,
Oh, do you want to take one out here?
Well, we're supposed to go, okay?
Yeah, it was later in the day. Bunch it together. One nice bunch it together.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to get one of those.
I had populace for, Easter.
Did you ever have one?
My sister did.
It's like, they're really long.
Yeah.
It's the same time they were not available.
It's the fence.
It's the word that they put this thing in the mouth.
Number two, kind of make you, knock down the wall.
Oh, yeah, you know.
Because I was, here I am, 19 years old, and I'm in court. And, you know, the first 2 weeks, well, lots going on. One day it's to go get shot for this for a while. And then go through.
Well, this is a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not
I've
to
been here, he didn't have a license.
requirement, you know, trying to put the thing in for to give me the extras in. I was a gagger, gag. They finally
Hey,
gave
guys,
up.
on this
I was the only
single
one
one,
who didn't have extras. They were
There's
just
5 pages to it.
right, so that's just.
Did everybody get 5 pages?
This is 226.
Somebody who didn't know what's going on, noticed that,
Yeah.
didn't get all the pages.
You need a set, all right? Okay, there's a set. Are you sure, Steve?
When I got 2 of these,
I got one that's stapled together. and then
Yeah,
five-
and then this loose one is 5.
There's 3 ones.
So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's a set. Well, it's just, I didn't realize it either. You think, okay, I need one of each. No, you have them in sets.
oh, I got
Oh,
what's wrong, you got 2 shoes.
all right. But these are a set.
Let me ask you a question. I'm going to say
Well, somebody else doesn't have. This is my set.
Did you?
It's all mine.
No. Oh, okay.
Okay.
I know why.
Anybody missing page 1?
Because I thought,
On the loose?
my hand,
You got a 1? You got a 1 on yours, Tom?
Yeah,
That one there? No.
no,
Is it a 2?
yeah.
what do you think?
Yeah, this is-
I should have stated, though I didn't want to state.
I thought to myself, because
All right, so here's the assignment while we're getting started.
And the,
You have a firm believer in observations.
oh boy,
I'm a firm believer in observations.
it's Tom Petty.
So, excuse me, sir, could you hush up over there? I'm trying to start the class.
Oh, look at you.
Hey, young man. Hey, young man. Hey, can you hush up a little bit over there?
Okay.
Tommy and I go way back about 100 years.
Yeah, it's about it, yeah.
All right, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your loose sheets, and I left one on each side of the text. And I want you to underline, I want you to make notes, I want you to make observations. I want us to practice observations. So you can circle things, you can put question marks, you can underline, you can make arrows, whatever you want to do. Things that you might want to ask questions about. In other words, what is the text? We're not interpreting. We're just finding out what does the text say. To get to the interpreting, you might want to circle a word that you don't know the meaning for. So you should be able to take a section, like that first page, you could have as many as 15 observations in it. We don't have to look just for the big stuff. anything that is of interest to you, makes you curious. Just try to dig into the text a little bit and make observations of it and see, try to figure out what it's trying to say textually. That make sense?
Yep.
One page at a time?
Yeah, well, I better you get one page at a time.
But you want us to do the whole thing before we're gonna say anything?
Go to section 26 only.
Okay.
Just
Down
26.
to the middle of the second page.
27 is one.
Okay, so just 26.
You guys all done? Mm-hmm. How many you got?
Yeah,
How many do I got?
I got a lot.
How many?
What do you mean, how many lines?
How many?
1, 2, 3,
How
4,
many observations?
5, 6.
6 observations?
Yes.
1 observation in a paragraph?
I got about 10.
10? Should get more. You should-
More than 10.
Well, you got a whole couple of paragraphs there, you can get a lot out of it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Maybe 10.
Maybe 11, you got a couple.
It's not the quantity, it's the quality.
Well, that is.
Yeah.
Wasn't able to come back after that one.
Yeah, right, he left the room.
Oh, we're still asking this question. When will these things be? They took your table.
I feel like Steve. The secret to Bible study is curiosity.
You better put your mic on. You're late, teacher.
I won't. I'm a scoundrel.
You're a mixture of good and
Evil. Of godliness and devilishness. But I want to prove to him my love, my loyalty, my devotion is sincere and genuine. Tonight, when they said one of us would betray him, I promised to follow him even unto death. If I keep messing this up,
Yeah.
it's going to be death.
yeah.
So who are you today, Peter or Pastor Bob?
I'm Pastor Bob.
Okay.
So that means you can harass me. All right. How you guys doing? Did you get some? What are you doing? What are you doing? Does that sound like Tommy?
Yeah.
That sounds like Tommy.
That's it. How you doing? All right, so
That's because he was born in Chicago.
he's a Chicago guy.
Oh,
Like
you-
sausage. He likes to have sausage.
Yeah.
All right, somebody give me an observation. I'm really dependent.
So, as long as nobody's speaking up, the first paragraph, end of line, teacher, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here. I'm curious as to why they asked that question.
All right, the question why?
Yeah, why did they ask that question? Well, I mean, what were they thinking?
All right, that's a good observation.
And what about the insides?
All right,
What about the insides?
Yeah, why?
insides?
Yeah, why did they ask about the outside of the temple?
Oh,
What's more important, the outside or the inside, right?
all right. All right, that's good.
Why
Those
was
are
it so
observations.
set on
The exterior, yeah.
material,
Alright.
the building?
That's a good observation. Ron?
And he said, take heed that you not be deceived, for many will come in my name, saying, I am he, and the time is drawn near. Therefore do not go after them. But when you hear of wars and commotions, do not be terrified. For these things must come to pass first, but the end will not come immediately. In other words, too many people say, I'm the Christ, I have the answers, I'm the one that went to the cross, but no, there'll be nothing but false Christ coming around just at the time when, you hear all kinds of wars and commotions going on, but you just told them realistically to be ready for them because these things have to come to pass, but the end will not come immediately.
All right, so that was a lot there. What's the actual observation?
Well,
We just don't want to read the text in the observation. We have the text. So we want to look at the observation from the, is there a question there? Or is there a short statement, like you might be able to say, they're curious about the when. When are these things going to happen?
Well, he gives an advisory about many that will come and say, I am he, I am the one that's the Messiah, and things are gonna, come to what does it say here? The time is drawing near and all that, but he tells them, look, this is a warning, don't listen to them because they're not me.
All right, so we got a couple observations in there.
Can I offer a suggestion? Can we go paragraph by paragraph, because I got observations.
I know, right, it is.
And so maybe we can share the observation in the first paragraph.
Okay, that's good.
Right.
Yeah, because otherwise we jump around. A lot of people go right to the end,
Right.
but there's a lot along the way.
Right.
So anybody in paragraph 1
About the building.
about the building.
Yeah, what manner of stones,
What manner of stones?
buildings are here.
Okay,
They're telling Jesus, see what manner of stones, like he didn't know,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, they're curious about the stones.
Yeah.
They're curious about the exterior.
For me, I was curious why they asked that question.
Okay?
Was it granite? Was it marble?
Yeah.
But it's not a question, it's a comment.
It's more like an observation.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's right.
Yes.
That's right. It was not a question, it was a comment, right?
All right, so that's even an observation.
Yeah.
They don't ask a question, they make a comment. Okay, we can try to find out why that is the point.
Right, yeah.
Why did they know?
In normal language, I'd say, hey, check this building out. Check out these stones it's made of, you know?
But you would wonder, then you'd start digging a little bit, and you wonder, weren't they around Jerusalem for a few years here? Why didn't they notice the stones before? Why all of a sudden are they thinking about the size of the stones and?
But it is the temple.
Yeah, would you think they would be around that temple being in Jerusalem? That they would be aware of it?
Maybe it was just recently done.
All right, so that's a question. When was the temple finished? That would be a good question to ask. Why are they observing the temple? Did they just see it for the first time? They were from Galilee, a lot of them, but they would always come to Jerusalem for the Passover. So wouldn't they be familiar with Jerusalem? It took them a long time to build this thing. You would think, how are they going to? Some of these stones were like 100 tons. So I would ask them, well, how'd they even get those there? That had to be a pretty massive structure.
And this was the temple that Herod built.
This is the temple Herod built, not the temple Solomon built. All right? All right, that's good. Okay, more observations, paragraph 1. Paragraph 2.
Well, the comment I made was, underlined days will come in which not one stone shall be left upon, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that was a prophecy that was fulfilled after Christ ascended.
Right?
Yeah, it was
Right.
the destruction of the
Right.
temple, yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty specific.
Yeah.
It's not, it's going to be in our notes, so I'll wait on that. But yeah, not one stone left upon another. They disassembled basically the whole thing. Now, what's left, when people go and pray on, is not the temple. That's the Wailing Wall. So that was by the court of the Gentiles, so it was a fulfilled prophecy. It just wasn't, there was still that wall there.
I have a relative, actually it's a cousin of Mary's, who's Jewish. So I asked him the question, why don't the Jews today do all the sacrifices and observe all of those things? He said, it's because the temple was destroyed.
Right?
They said, when it gets rebuilt, we'll start doing that again.
They're actually having stuff, they supposedly have a heifer
Yeah.
that's unblemished.
Yeah.
They have all the things for the ornament, for the priests to wear, all the garments and all the stuff is
Where
ready.
in the Old Testament does it say the temple has to be erect in order for you to abide by all the commands that Moses gave, right?
Well, that's where they offered the sacrifices, so that's the way the whole temple and tabernacle were laid
When they do
out.
outside of the temple, sacrifices?
No.
Didn't they do sacrifices?
No.
Didn't?
Not in the tabernacle they did, but when it came to the temple,
Elijah, he built a sacrifice.
so that was before the temple. Elijah was before the temple.
Ah, okay.
All those, once
All
the
right,
temple.
okay, all right, I'm with you. No, I got it.
Yeah. So as a matter of fact, some of the Israelites got in trouble for offering sacrifices on the east side of Jordan, and they were going to be a war because they were not honoring the temple. So they said, no, we're not offering sacrifices on this altar. This is just a reminder that we are part of Israel, so you don't forget us, you don't neglect us. But they weren't going to offer any sacrifices.
So take all five.
But that's a good observation. All right, so any more in paragraph 2?
That's a set.
I was confused by Jesus' answer. Do you see these great buildings? Do you not see all these things? Well, to me, that's confusing. Do you see these? Do you not see? What does he mean by all these things?
Okay. It's a kind of almost seems like a bad sentences. Are you, do you not see the buildings? Do you not see all these things? I wonder what the things were he was talking about.
What's gonna happen?
Could be what's going to
You
happen.
see it, but you don't see what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Where's
That's an
this
observation.
out of?
Huh?
Where's this in the Bible?
Okay, in your notes, the top paragraph, the introduction. So we have Mark chapter 24 and verse 1, and Matthew 24 and Mark 13 verse 1. Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple, how it was adorned, and how beautiful stones and donations. One of his disciples said to him, "Teacher, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here." Kind of phrased a little different, right? So, Matthew 24, 1 and 2, Jesus left the temple, was going away when his disciples came to point out to him, this is the ESV, I think that's the New Living, or the New King James, the buildings of the temple. But he answered them, "You see all these, do you not? Truly, truly, I say to you." So Matthew everybody gives a little different perspective from it. John gives nothing. And Luke doesn't pick up until verse 5. All right? That's it. You're making observations. That's good. What else? You got anything else in chapter 3?
Well, paragraph 3, you want to go paragraph to paragraph?
Yeah.
All right. I underlined, and what sign will there be? I asked the question, do we ask for signs? I don't think I've ever asked for a sign.
Yeah. There's an application question, right? Is that something we should do? Is it okay
Yeah.
to ask for signs? Gideon asked for a sign. You know, is it okay? Is it a lack of faith? Is it okay to ask for a sign? Is it, you know, it doesn't seem like Jesus rebukes them.
Well, if he wanted a sign, wouldn't it, just for his own knowledge, to understand, okay, this is going to take place anytime?
Well, he told them that there was not going to be one stone upon the other. Think how long it took to build this thing. Now it's going to be destroyed?
That's a sign.
When did the
Yeah.
Romans knock it down?
70 AD, right?
70 AD?
70 AD, this is about 33 AD.
So,
And Jesus is still alive, so this is not going to happen for 20, 33, 43, 50, 27 years or so?
so there is no temple now.
There's no temple now. The Dome of the Rock is on the spot where the temple
I
is.
don't know if this is true or baloney, but either I read it or saw somebody preaching or something that don't rush them on to build a third temple. Jerusalem, it'll be built by the Antichrist.
Well, that's a whole other thing on the end times, on when this is, the temple. I think Netanyahu said something about there needs to be another temple, but the Dome of the Rock is in the way. He said, technically it's not in the way. Technically it's in the court of the Gentiles, so technically they can still build the temple outside of the Dome of the Rock.
Okay, what is the Dome of the Rock? Is
The
that
Dome of
Muslim? Is
the,
that-
that's Muslim. That's-
Okay.
So it's a kind of the sacred place of
Yeah.
of Muslim worship.
Yeah,
Yeah. So there'll be a big war
yeah,
if there was
if
a...
they do something with that thing, yeah.
They had a hard enough time with Israel making Jerusalem its capital.
Yeah, so,
All right? It's a good question. Is there going to be a sign? How are we going to see this happening? But he gives signs. He's going to give some signs.
it already happened, all right? So the question was there a sign that they saw? But anyway.
Yeah, and we'll get into some of those.
But, I mean, do people in this room ask for signs? I don't.
Yeah. Anybody ask for signs?
No.
No? Nobody?
I think I have.
Yeah.
Show me, you know.
Yeah, like if this is your will,
Yeah, I ask that, yeah, but I don't ask, you know.
How will you know if it is?
I mean, for a sign, I think like Gideon and so forth, I mean,
Right.
some of them ask for a sign, moss on this,
Please.
yeah, police and things like that, yeah.
Well, sure, yeah.
You know, I don't ask those kinds of things, physical things, you know. You know,
I asked for a sign. I asked for a sign when I was wondering if the Lord was leading me off to Bible school. I was a relatively new believer, and so I said, Lord, if you want me to go to Bible school, then the first person who comes through my house will buy the house.
huh, okay.
And the first person came through, bought the house, and we went.
All right, so that was a sign for you, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I had a little faith? Maybe. Maybe couldn't I just trust God to say this is what he's telling me to do? As a new believer, I'm still sorting all this stuff out. And so I asked for a sign. And he granted me a sign.
You should have known that it was going to happen when you stuck your upside-down statue in the ground.
Old Jude or something? Hey Jude, don't be afraid. All right. Anybody else in paragraph 3? All right, paragraph 4. I'm not hearing any signs over there. Anybody else got, not signs, observations?
And four?
Yeah, anywhere. The first 3 paragraphs, I'm not hearing many signs.
Okay.
I mean, observations.
That's what I was asking on the 3rd paragraph, was about the sign.
All right,
It
good.
was the same as Al.
Yeah, all right, great. Yeah, so when somebody else says it, it's hard to say it again. Right? I'm with you. Okay. Thanks.
I take note in verse 4, or the fourth paragraph rather, that he says, it's not going to be from what somebody tells you. It's not going to be that somebody comes and says they're in my name or pretends to be me. You know, it's not going to be a person, but when you observe these things, and then he says the various things taking place in various places, that will be a sign.
All right, let's see. So I'm trying to see that in the text. These things must come to pass first.
No, he says, for many will come in my name saying, I am he, and the time is drawn near. Therefore, do not go after them. But when you hear about wars, commotions, do not be terrified, for these things must come to pass first, but the end will not come immediately.
So it's not a person.
Okay. Where are they hearing this from? When you hear of wars, for many will come in my name saying, I am he, the time has drawn near. Therefore do not go after them. When you hear of wars and commotions, do not be terrified. So he gives a couple instructions here, right? Many will come in my name, the time is drawn, do not go after them. I would probably circle that, do not go after them. When you hear of wars, do not be terrified.
But he warns them not to be deceived.
Not be deceived, all right, there's another one, that you not be deceived. All right?
And for those who are coming saying that I am he, are these things going on right now?
Yeah, I agree with Tom on that.
Yeah.
I mean, David Koresh was
Right?
one that's claiming he,
Yeah.
right?
There's many are claiming to be Jesus.
Kool-Aid, right?
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So my whole take on that whole paragraph in general is, they didn't recognize him the first time around. How are they going to recognize him the second time around?
That's a good observation, right? That's good. Yeah, okay. They're not recognizing him now as the Messiah, but it is,
Would we recognize him
Yeah.
the second
Yeah.
time?
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good observation.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you-
And did this happen? Were there people in those days saying, I am he? I mean, there are today, we're here, we hear of them. But even in those days,
Probably.
they were saying, because he's talking about the temple, which we're going to get in here, there's two different prophecies here.
Actually, in Acts, don't the Sanhedrin ever say, talk about, there were other people that came at the time of Christ, but there were no followers of them. So let's not worry about the disciples now, because
If it's not of God, that's all
they'll
going to
die. Yeah,
Yeah, they'll die off.
Probably was still going on
Yeah.
in the time of Christ.
Yeah. So there's people out there always trying to take the spotlight or to claim to be. Somebody told me I should wear my costume down to the bean and claim to be Peter. I don't think it would shock anybody. People would think there's all kinds of nuts around Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody told me you could claim to be Moses and walk down the beach.
Well, now, if you part the Lake Michigan.
Yeah, that might get their attention, right? Yeah.
You mean, where's this guy?
I'm gonna follow him. Yeah. All right?
The other observation I had in that paragraph is the end will not come immediately, and that's true. I mean, we're still waiting for the end, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, how many, not immediately, boy, it's
Yeah.
2,000 years. Not quite yet, but, and we're all pretty immediate centered, aren't we? We don't like to wait either. You know, even to think 27 years after Jesus was crucified, And he's telling the story. So it didn't happen while 27 years after he told the story. How impatient would you get? Okay, Jesus said this was going to happen. Okay, not immediately, but we're 27 years into it. And when's this happening? All right. How about the next paragraph?
This is what's going on now.
Yeah, nation will rise against nation.
Yeah.
It's going on in Iran. Thoughts?
Other places too, Congo's at war,
Oh, Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Killed left and right. Of course, we still got with the Palestinians down there, of course, the Jews knocked the lonely out of them, so.
Yeah, so but the thing, it's easy for us to see it today, right, because we're in it,
Yeah,
what's going on today, but to think all that was going on then.
So Jesus is really telling us what sign for us to look for, right?
Well, he's actually telling them what signs to look for the temple.
Yeah.
Then he's going to go in, there's two different prophecies here. He's first talking about the temple, and then he's later in the day, this is later in the day, the rest of the Olivet Discourse, where he's going to talk about the end of the age. So he first talks about the temple, that's what they're specifically asking about. They're asking about the temple. Here, let's see. Where's it at?
Are you in the staple copy or the loose?
You're talking about Luke 21, 21?
Yeah, Luke 21. Notice in, section 27, the first paragraph there, that actually 27 signs of Christ's second advent, that should stop there. That's the title. Now as he sat on the Mount of Olives opposite the temple, so it's probably 1,000 yards from where they had the upper room to the Mount of Olives. So it would probably take about 10 minutes or so. So they concluded the discussion on the temple, and now section 27, now as he sat on the Mount of Olives opposite the temple, the disciples, Peter, James, John, and Andrew, came to him privately. And now they're asking a different question, saying, tell us, when will these things be, and what will be the sign when all these things will be fulfilled? What will be the sign of your coming in the end of the age? So then he goes into that prophecy. So, I think I put it in your notes here. Let's see here. Somebody go to Deuteronomy 18. Everybody go there. If you got a Bible or a phone or something, so you see it. Deuteronomy 18. That's the Old Testament.
18 what?
18 to 22.
Sorry, what? Deuteronomy what?
18?
18.
All right.
18 to 24. Or 3 or 2. To the end.
All right. What verse within 18?
It's 18 to 22.
Okay.
22.
Deuteronomy 18 to 22.
Okay.
Somebody read it.
I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their brothers. And I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I command him. And whoever will not listen to my words that he shall speak in my name, I myself will require it of him. The prophet who presumes to speak a word in my name that I have not commanded him to speak, or who speaks in the name of other gods, that same prophet shall die. And if you say in your heart, how may we know the word that the Lord has not spoken? When a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, if the word does not come to pass or come true, that is a word that the Lord has not spoken. The prophet has spoken it presumptuously, so you need not be afraid of him.
All right, so we're back to observations. What do you observe about that? Those verses.
Well, is that connected to the next paragraph? Right? You got a paragraph, but before all these things, blah, 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 right? And he says in there, I will give you a mouth and a wisdom which all your adversaries will not be able to contradict or resist, which is what he's talking about in Deuteronomy.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's the prophet, and what he says in these prophecies has to come true. So he's telling them what's going to happen, but they still won't listen to him. Israel rejects him, and yet what he's saying is going to come true. Even if it takes 27 years later, it's going to come true. So one evidence that he is the prophet spoken of in Deuteronomy, people are going to come out and try to deceive them. That's what he's saying. People are going to come, say, I'm he, and come over here, and he's over there, and all those things. And he says it's not yet. And didn't he say that in paragraph, we were talking about that? Paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4. Take heed that you be not deceived. Many will come in my name saying, I am he. The true prophet speaks the truth. If he's not the true prophet, he should be stoned. Don't go after them. And we, now to jump right to application, we should do the same thing too. Be careful who you listen to.
We don't want to jump to a conclusion that, oh, this is he. No,
Yeah.
we have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Almost like you hear about the people who have said, this is going to happen in so many years, and then those years come and
Never happens.
never happens.
Harold Camping.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Be careful. He told the church at Ephesus, as soon as I leave, ravening wolves will rise from within you. There are false teachers all over the place. That's why it's important to know the Word. All right. Page 2. Do we... We're after the Living Supper paragraph, the first full paragraph there on page 2. You will be betrayed. You will be betrayed. Well, that's ringing.
On page 2 of the notes you gave us?
No, page 2 of the consolidated gospel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Steve?
So was he prophesizing that they would be alive to witness this event?
Not everyone was.
Right.
Let's see, not all
So
the, when did James die?
You will see this and that and the other thing.
Yeah, maybe not them individually, but the nation of Israel will see it.
So that's what he meant, was
Yeah.
really more like all of us.
Yeah. But that's a good observation. Who's he talking about? Is he talking about those disciples right there? Are they going to see it? But not all of them saw it. right? James? I don't think James saw the destruction of Jerusalem. All the disciples were martyred, except for John, kind of died on the island of Patmos, or no, he was actually in Ephesus, so he pastored the church in Ephesus. So he didn't die,
But they do go through what 6 talks about, but before these things, they will lay their hands on you.
yeah,
As you read about what is happening in Acts,
right?
all that's going on in Acts.
Yeah, the persecution, Acts chapter 8 and all that, yeah. Okay. How about paragraph 3? Well, that'll end up 226, or no, then Jerusalem will be trampled by Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. About to put that in the paragraph before that, any observations there?
Well, stating the obvious, but when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then you know the destruction is near.
He answered the question, what will be the signs of this happening? Not of his coming, but which we'll find in 227. But he's given them actual signs. But by then it's kind of too late, right? They're surrounded. The temple's destroyed, and not one stone upon another. The whole place is destroyed. I wonder, doesn't it make you curious? How did they destroy that temple? They get pry bars up? They couldn't get the cranes. They didn't have bulldozers. They didn't have dynamite. This place was huge. The stones were 100 tons. What's a ton? It's 2,000 pounds.
No, the Lord had
200,000 pounds for...
Maybe there was a, what do they call those things when the street, there becomes a great big hole? Sinkhole. Yeah, maybe there was a sinkhole.
They dug underneath it. Got it to tip over.
Not in the desert.
I mean, we have no clue of how big these things were. It's not like the Alamo or something. This was huge. How many Roman soldiers were there? I don't know, just curiosity, We study the Bible with curiosity. Wow, what actually happened there? Okay, so now, on your notes there, at the bottom of page 1, you see an outline there. Or you see a chart, you see how he took the consolidated gospel and put them together. So this section here, we see Matthew 24 and 25, but it starts with Matthew 24, 1 and 2. And Mark 13, 1 and 2, and then Luke 21, 5 and 6. And these are the opening remarks leaving the temple. So they're not across the way yet. They're not on the other side, sitting on the Mount of Olives. They are now outside the temple. They're leaving the temple, and that caused them, notice what it says here, Jesus left the temple and was going away. So Matthew only gives us 2 verses. Now then he jumps through as he sat on the Mount of Olives. So this is a break in there. He's leaving the temple. He was going away, but he doesn't cover really what the disciples asked him. He doesn't cover it until he gets to the second prophecy, the end of the age. So, Matthew tells them that there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down. That's it. Then he goes and sits on the Mount of Olives, and the disciples came to him privately, tell us when will these things be, what will be the sign of your coming, and the end of the age. And Jesus answered him again in the same kind of a tone, let anybody lead you astray. But it's a different question. He didn't say, on the first question, the destruction of the temple, he didn't say, when I come back and place my feet on the Mount of Olives and everything splits at the second coming, he doesn't say that. But what he says, according to Deuteronomy 18, in both cases, they have to come true. Otherwise, he would be the false prophet.
Well, but it says, what will be the sign of your coming? And correct me if I'm wrong, but is the sign is that Jesus is there now and going to be, he is the sign right there. Would he not be?
Well, it's not his second coming. He's there. So it wouldn't be his first coming either, because they were anticipating his coming, weren't they? They weren't expecting it to be 2,000 years. We look back in time, so they're thinking this is going to be imminent to them. That he's going to leave and he's going to come back, and they think they're going to see it. And we've been asking the same question for 2,000 years. What's the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? So it's like looking at a mountain range, and as you look out of the mountain range, you see one mountain, and the other mountains seem like they're right together. But as you drive up to them, and you get past that first mountain, there's distance between the first and the second mountain. So it's the same thing here. There's a first mountain, the destruction of the temple, and then there's another mountain further along. They call that telescoping, in that the first coming and the second coming, there's a lot of time in between them.
But what I'm saying is what coming? What the first coming or the second coming? Because it says, tell us, and maybe I'm thinking about this the wrong way, when these things will be. Well, they know that a prophet's going to come, and they're asking, what will be the sign of your coming?
All right, they're asking two questions in there, aren't they?
Yeah.
What is the first question?
The first question is, what will be the sign of your coming?
No?
Oh, when will these things be?
Yeah, so the first question is the when. When will these things be? And then, what will be the sign of it? So, is there a sign, was Trump going to bomb Iran? Was there any sign? What's the sign that you're going to do it? Well, the armada of all the fleets and all that there, is that a sign that it's coming? That they're preparing for all of that? Well, we didn't know when, but there certainly seemed to be a buildup to it. I'm not getting political here. I'm just trying to see how they might have seen it. Does that answer the question?
No, I guess not, just,
No, grades a few more though.
That's good. A good teacher makes
So that
more
would be his
questions.
second coming, the sign of your second coming, because he was already there
Right.
speaking with them in present time.
Yeah,
But after he dies, he comes back.
right. And they were looking for him to come, as a matter of fact, even in the book of Acts. The angel comes and says, in the same way that he ascended, he will descend. So then they didn't know when that's going to be. So they were, and just all of Christianity's been anticipating it since he went the first time. But we're impatient. And every generation thought they were going to see the sign of his coming.
I guess when I look back at the Old Testament, the Old Testament is the prophecy of Christ coming. And it's like, I look at that, well, there's the first sign,
Yeah.
and now they're asking for the sign of your coming. I guess that's what.
Yeah. But the Bible talks a lot about the day of the Lord,
Yeah.
you know, and the judgment. Zechariah says he's going to, 14, I think, says he's going to plant his feet on the Mount of Olives. It's going to split. So that certainly didn't come at his first coming. So there's a lot of prophecies that talk about his second coming as well. All those prophecies for the first coming have come true. But now we look for the prophecies of his second coming. They have to come true as equally as the first.
Okay. All right.
All right, so back to our outline. Let's see if I can go to, let's see what Luke says. While some people were speaking of the temple, how it was adorned with noble stones and offerings, he said, as for these things that you see, the days will come when there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down. And they asked him, Teacher, when will these things be? And what will be the sign when these things are about to take place? And again, he goes into, they're not led astray, many will come in my name, I am he, the time is at hand. Well, what does that hand mean? You know? For the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, 1,000 years like a day.
What we're looking at on the screen, is that the consolidated gospel or?
No, this is just
You separated it.
Yeah, the ESV, these are like in the outline. So as you can see in the outline, I clicked on
Okay,
to
so what you're showing up there is, yeah.
the individual gospel.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Now, we can put all these together and get the consolidated gospel text. So the consolidated gospel takes all of these accounts and puts them in order, or at least in a synthesis. All right, so in your outline, A is the opening remarks leaving the temple. B, the question about the temple's destruction. We find in Luke verse 7, Luke 21:7. When will these things be? What will be the sign when these are about to take place? Then C, the prophecy about Jerusalem's destruction. Then Jerusalem is under Gentile domination. Okay? So, C. So, we often try to put these texts in verse 8 to 23. We try to put those in the period of his second coming. So, notice in A, B, C, D, and E, or D, is about the destruction of the temple. Many of these signs are also happened at the time the destruction of the temple. So this outline is broken down into two parts. I probably should have organized them, labeled them better. A, B, C, D is about the temple. E, notice E says the prophecy about the end times. Do you see that?
Yep.
All right, so from E goes down through the end times. You with us? With me?
Yeah.
All right, so some of the same things that he talks about in the destruction of the temple were the same as what's going to happen at the end times. Wars and rumors of wars, don't be led astray. People are going to come in his name. I am he. The time is at hand. And if we read through the rest of Luke, we go to 8. See that you're not led astray. 9. When you hear of wars and tumults, do not be terrified. These things must first take place, but the end will not be at once. Maybe a different translation. Anybody have a different translation of verse 9? Luke 21:9. Are we getting too technical here?
It's pretty technical.
It is. But you see how much is in the scriptures that we just kind of blow by. Right? You got to dig a little bit, and you got to try to sort it out and try to.
So when are all of these things not going on? That's kind of the easier way to ask the question. Is, when is all this not happening?
Well, Luke 8, or Luke 21:8 to 24 is not happening. That's already happened when the temple was destroyed. But notice in your outline, the prophecy about the end times talks in Matthew 24 and 25. The second coming starts in verse 4 of Matthew. Mark in verse 5. That's the end times, the second coming. Luke picks it back up at the second coming in verses 25 to 28. So you should take the outline, look at the text, and say, okay, this happened at the destruction of the temple, this happened at the end times. These are the signs of the end times. And I had a list of the signs. I don't think I put them in here. A bunch of the signs. No, I didn't add them. I got waylaid. I was going to give you the signs. There's a whole bunch of them in there. All right, so let's go back to Matthew 4. All right, so from Matthew chapter 4, this is talking about the second coming. So now, AD 70, the temple was destroyed. It's still not rebuilt. 2,000 years have gone by, the temple has still not been rebuilt. It's been trampled underfoot. Now, when we come to verse 4 of Matthew 24, Jesus answered them, "See that no one leads you astray. Many will come in my name saying, I am the Christ, and they will lead many astray." It's kind of the same thing. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed, for this must take place, but the end is not yet. Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines, earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. They will deliver you up to tribulation, put you to death. You will be hated by all nations for my name's sake, and many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another, and many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. Lawlessness will increase. The love of many will grow cold, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony. All nations, and then the end will come. So you see, Matthew 4 to 8, 24, 4 to 8 is the first half of the tribulation. Now, there's different views on the tribulation. There's some that hold to the pre-tribulation rapture of the church. They call those the pre-trib, premillennial. That the tribulation is going to happen before the millennium. So there's pre-trib, and those usually are the ones who take the Bible literally. So I'm in that camp. You don't have to be in that camp. You can be in whatever camp you want to be in. And you're free to be wrong. And then there's we have some in our church that are pre-wrath. That they say that the tribulation, the rapture is going to happen prior to God's wrath being poured out. In my view, all of the tribulation is an outpouring of God's wrath. And then there's the post-trib that believe that the rapture is going to happen at the very end. So I'm a pre-mill, and then it goes pre-trib, pre-millennium. When does the tribulation happen? When does the rapture happen? So I believe the millennial comes before the judgment at the end, and that there is a millennium, 1,000 years. Really, Revelation chapter 20 uses the word 6 times. It's really not used anywhere else, of the 1,000 years. And then people throw that verse in there, a day is like 1,000 years, 1,000 years is like a day, so it doesn't have to literally be 1,000 years. However, Revelation 20 says it's going to be 1,000 years. So I'm a literalist. If the literal sense makes the most sense, seek no other sense, or you'll end up with nonsense. So, yet Revelation is filled with some symbols.
Mr. Bob, doesn't Andre, does he not believe in the rapture or something like that?
Yeah, I think he's more of the rapture will happen at the end.
Oh.
He's more of a post-rapture guy.
Did you ever talk to him about that?
Oh, yeah.
He tried to convince you?
Oh, yeah. Everybody wants to convince you. Everybody wants to convince you that they're right. It can become divisive, so I don't argue about it.
Yeah.
You know, if people tell me 2 + 2 is 5, I say, you're right. Why argue with people?
Yeah.
That's new math.
Yeah, it's the new math. Whatever you want to do, if that's what you say.
You gotta kind of say, here's two, how many?
I know, right? What's this new math? Non-Euclidean geometry. You ever had that? Non-Euclidean geometry? They say that 2 non-parallel lines will never intersect. That's non-Euclidean. It can go on forever. It can go on for eternity, getting closer and closer, but never intersect. All right, so So Matthew 4 to 8, the first half of the tribulation, verses 9 to 28, the second half of the tribulation, and then Matthew 24, 29 to 31 will be the second coming. And I gave you the chart so you can go back and look at each portion. In the consolidated gospel you have on these pages we're making observations on. So then you can see letter F, it's the parable of the fig tree. And so let's go to our notes a minute. Before that, page 1, the prophecies Jesus made right after the theological translation, that full paragraph above the source quotes, you see that? The prophecy Jesus made on the Wednesday afternoon of the crucifixion week seemed confusing until we separate the scriptures appropriately. For as we read the synoptic gospels, it seems Jesus addressed two things at the same time. And this is kind of a review here. The destruction of Jerusalem, which we know happened in AD 70, and his second coming, which we know has yet to happen. The discussion started as Jesus and his disciples left the temple, where he stated that no two stones of the temple would be left in position. In consequence of this, the disciples asked when the temple would be destroyed, Luke 21:7. Jesus answered this in Luke 21:8 to 24. Some of that answer is similar to, but not identical with, the prophecy he made later that same afternoon on the Mount of Olives. A prophecy which responded to a difficult question.
Different.
Oh, right, thank you. A different question, an inquiry into the signs of the end of the age. Our Lord, in fact, invited this question, for by interjecting Luke 21, 10 to 11, Luke 21, let's see what that says. Luke 21, 11, Luke 21, 10 and 11. Then he said to them, nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes, various places of famine, pestilence. There will be terror and great signs from heaven. He himself introduced the subject of the end of the age before returning to the question of the destruction of the temple. So he kind of jumps in there to the end, to the end of the age before he's going to go back, which he does in Matthew. He goes right into the end of the age. That's why the consolidated gospel helps. It helps separate the two. All right, so on page 2,
So I'm thinking about Steve's comment, which is, for 2,000 years after Jesus went back to heaven, we've had wars nonstop for 2,000 years. I mean, there's always some war going on. So that's nation rising against nation. There's been all kinds of earthquakes. There's been famines and pestilences all over the place. So when the end times come, is it just more severe wars and more severe earthquakes and famines and pestilences? Or
That's what most people say. They say the intensity of them
Okay.
will become worse. That'll be the signs when you start.
Yeah, it's like childbirth.
Right. The birth pains are slow at first. The closer it gets to the birth, the more intense they become.
And when it says terrors and great signs from heaven, what do you think that means?
There will be great earthquake, greater famine, and pestilence, there will be terrors. Now, I like the ESV for some of this reason, is that you can click onto this letter here, Isaiah 19:17, I'm going to do it over here. Isaiah 19:17, if I click on it from here, and the land of Judah will become a terror to the Egyptians. Everyone to whom it is mentioned will fear because of the purpose that the Lord of hosts has purposed against them. Now the question is, in our observations, who's he talking about? Is he talking about those that are coming against Israel? Is that the people of Israel? Because part of the tribulation, purpose of the tribulation is to bring judgment down on Israel. So the church is not there. If you're a believer in the rapture, the church will be taken out, and as the purpose of the tribulation is to the wrath of God to be poured out on those who don't believe. He's going to return to working on the nation of Israel, and so people are going to come against Israel until all Israel is saved, and those who will believe. Let's see what great signs, a reference for great signs. 11:16, while others to test him kept seeking from him a sign. Matthew 16:1, when the Pharisees and Sadducees came to test him, they asked him to show them a sign. Mark 8:11, the Pharisees came and began to argue with him, seeking from him a sign from heaven to test him. Verse 25. And there will be signs in the sun and the moon and stars, and on the earth distress of nations in perplexity because the roaring of the sea and of the waves. Revelation 12, verse 1. And a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. Verse 3. And another sign, verse 13, it performs great signs in the Antichrist. Chapter 15, but I saw another sign in heaven.
So I'm just thinking this through. Among mankind, there will be more turmoil.
Yeah.
More fighting, wars, killing.
Earthquakes,
But
everything's falling
But
apart.
at the same time, God is sending more natural
Disasters, problems, yeah.
while mankind is tearing each other apart.
Now add all those together, so you got signs in the skies, you got it turning black, you got, the other day, somebody had a hailstone the size of a baseball.
And there's meteorites.
Meteorites.
Yeah, I mean, we see some of those coming, right? And there was, matter of fact, there was something coming that was pretty large, and they talked about sending something out to shatter it before it hit the earth. And, yeah.
Why did that movie come out way back when about Armageddon or something? When they went up onto it and had to drill on it or something and try to blow it up? So
So basically, these times will be like something that we have never even experienced before in our lifetime.
To some little degree, we see some of it.
Yeah.
All the flooding and all the stuff going on, it's going to be so intense. It's going to be terrorizing.
And it sounds like all Christians are going to be persecuted.
Well, yeah, people will believe during the millennium. I mean, during the tribulation period, people will believe. I believe that the church, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, and 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, the church will be raptured. Because from Revelation 5, 6 to the end, there's no mention of the church. So I believe the church will be taken out. It'll be the times of the Gentiles will be over. God will again return to working on Israel. And the church will at that time be at a marriage feast of the Lamb in heaven. We'll be getting rewards and all those things. And God used the Gentiles to bring Israel to jealousy so that they would see the goodness of God, which they had in the very beginning, but they rejected. They rejected all the way back. They rejected when Jesus came. They continually rejected. But he's not done with them. So if you read Romans 9, 10, and 11, Romans 9 talks about Israel's past. Romans 10 talks about Israel's present. Romans 11 talks about Israel's future. So if you want to know what God's going to do with Israel again, you can read Romans chapter 11. He's not done with them. So he'll be done with the Gentiles. The wrath of God will be poured out on all the world, including Israel, and they will eventually repent and turn back to him. But, man, God, it's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of an angry God. So believe today. Today is the day of salvation. Don't put it off, because the wrath of God is coming. And as a matter of fact, Romans says that. Romans 1:18, the wrath of God is coming upon us, or upon the world. Certainly not like the tribulation period. These are interesting passages in our day to see what's happening around us. You know, I don't worry about Iran. I don't worry about Russia. I don't worry about any of these nations. I don't worry about anybody, anything. The Lord's in charge, and I've read these passages, and the Lord wins. And his wrath is not for me. There's no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus. We are not destined for the wrath of God. And
Just hold on tight.
hold on tight. It's a ride. We're all on a ride.
You know, I don't think anything's going to happen in the near future because Russia, they bit off more than they can chew with Ukraine. So I can't see them on two fronts, Ukraine and then going down against Israel with the other countries, against Israel.
The Bible talks, though, about alliances.
Well, they'll be with the other Sudan and Turkey and
Right.
But
China, Sudan, China's.
I don't think China's going to be in.
Yeah, they're going to come from the east, an army of 200,000 men.
But I don't see how Russia could do it with, coming down with the other countries against Israel.
They still got a lot of nuclear weapons. They still got a lot of artillery. They're not lashing into Ukraine like they could. It's almost like they're playing with them. They're not trying to destroy everything, but I think they would like to have all the land and take it all. So
Sure.
I got to hand it to Ukraine for fighting them so long, They don't have much. Fortunately, others are giving them weapons and stuff. But now they're upset because there's so much going on in Iran, they've lost the attention on them.
Yeah.
So now they're upset that this is taking away from them, their war. So, I think there was a discussion question on there. The disciples were focused on the beautiful stones back to the destruction of the temple, while Jesus was focused on the desolate house. In our modern lives, how do we mistakenly prioritize physical moments or programs over our internal spiritual condition? How would you answer that?
Well, to me, that's been the church history. If you go to Europe these days, you have these huge cathedrals and they're empty. And there's no spirit there. And in some ways, you could argue that some of that's happening in the United States too. I mean, Pastor Ryan talks about, most churches, all they're concerned about are buildings and butts and budgets, and that's taken so much emphasis. They've lost the fire and the spirit of what the mission of the church is all about. So buildings are buildings.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think one thing we learn about the Gospels, the New Testament, the message of Jesus was to the Jews, they were looking at external signs, right? Keeping the law and all that kind of stuff. And he called them whitewashed sepulchres, right?
Yeah.
So Christ is presenting a message of authenticity. It's not what you're doing here. It's a relationship with Jesus Christ, right? And so I think this thing with looking at the stones versus looking at what's going on in the nation of Israel at that point in time is the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And we see today too. With churches, we're worried about the numbers and how many people are in the seats and all that kind of stuff. We're not worried about, are we being fed? Are we growing in our relationship, right? So what was going on then can't be going on now. We got to have an eye, a watchful eye.
Yeah. It's easy to look, and we read through the side of the Gospels as we went from Nicodemus. They don't see the spiritual. They're always asking, how can a man be born again? Go into his womb, the mother's womb the second time. They're asking the wrong questions. It's all material. It's all physical. The woman at the well, how are you going to get water out of a well? Well, the words I'm speaking to you are spirit and life. But we ask the wrong questions. It's hard for us, too, to look beyond the external to the spiritual. How much are we asking ourselves, where are we spiritually? What's really important to us in our life? Where are we in our walk with God? You start seeing how many Christians are actually applying the Bible to their lives. It's easy to come to church and read it, but how many people are actually doing it? James got it, right? Faith without works. What are you doing about it? How are you applying these things to your own life?
You're like the Israelites, they forgot who God was, and because things were okay, and then because God took care of them, and then what happened, and they didn't believe God, and when things are good, hey, everything's okay, it's all right, and then, Lord.
It often takes us some pain to call out to God, right?
It happened over and over and over. Yeah.
Stanford, green letters. One of the things he talks about in the green letters is God has to bring us to the place where we see our need. You know, where is God revealing to you what you need from Him?
Yeah. How much we need a Savior.
Yeah. And how much I need Him every day. I need Him to fill me every day.
Yes. And I'm glad that He gives us this need.
Yeah.
Because without it,
We'd be
well, yeah, okay, well.
Yeah, we'd be lazy, we'd drift off, but He loves us so much that He who began a good work, I mean, that's why one of my favorite verses in the Bible, Philippians 1:6, that He who began a good work in you will perform it. He's pursuing us. It's Him who works in us to will and to do according to His good pleasure. Am I willing to do what He works in me to will? Am I willing to do that? That's why John 7:17, if anyone wills to do my will, he will know of the teaching. And He won't reveal the meaning of His teaching if you're not willing to do it. So we have to be willing to do what He says. So, Father, what an interesting passage. A little deep, a little intense, but some good stuff. We didn't get much into our notes, Lord, but hopefully we are learning to observe, to pay attention to the text. Give us a curiosity. Help us to be curious about the what, why, when, where, how of your word. Why did He put this here? How did they do that? When is this supposed to happen? Where are they? Where is this taking place? Give us a curiosity. Stir up our heart and mind. There's so many wonderful things in your word. We usually just skim the surface. So help us in our study to slow down a little bit, to meditate on it, think about it, and chew it over, and let you, Holy Spirit, enlighten us and teach us your word. Help us to put the effort into it. It's our work, but we just see how much we're missing when we genuinely dig in. Thank you for good men of God that you've given the gift of teaching to, that we can learn from and we can grow by, and they can show us the things that we miss. We miss so much. And thank you, Holy Spirit. Ultimately, it's from you. And your desire is for us to be more like Jesus. So help us to put these things into practice and to enjoy you, fear God, keep His commandments, enjoy you forever. It's the whole duty of man. And help us to enjoy you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Hey, Tom's not going to be here next week to set up the thing.
Oh, he can't go. Tom can't
And
go
then the
anywhere.
following week, we will be gone. Are you going to get Alex?
Yeah, Alex is going to be here. Yeah.
Okay.
Alex will be here. So whether we don't record it, because I'm not going to be able to learn all that, next week unless Al can do it.
Well, you get instructions on how to set that up. After you follow your instructions, can you send that to me?
Yeah, I have a photograph, I'll give you a report in the back,
So I just have been on the weather for the last couple of weeks. Since I got home from
Wednesday
Austin.
morning?
Since I got home from Austin, I've been sick.
I'm sorry.
We can talk about Wednesday morning.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, all right.
Take care of you.
Whatever notes you got.
I can make copies of this.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having,
Maybe watch him,
bugs in my
how he
bed
takes it
all
apart.
day, you know,
No, I think putting together is
trying to, spray and,
taking the part
spray
is
the
easy.
mattress and all
Yeah,
that.
but you see what's plugged in where.
Speaker button.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's plugging in.
Okay, get up and you're laying there, they bite you and everything like that, they're not dangerous. Well, you'll have itching and everything like a mosquito.
Thanks, guys. You guys are awesome.
You're laying there,
Yeah.
no matter
Are we digging too much?
You don't know what's crawling on you.
Okay, so what I did, we followed the pit.
Why don't you take a picture of this, too?
Oh, yeah.
You know, I always told my daughter to play some music for the students,
See a mosquito.
so they can see how it's gonna be hard to play. So hopefully we can show you what it's like to get stuff, to dig into the text, to get through it. See you guys, you know,
Okay.
these here, and then I took a picture of how everything gets plugged in.
Okay.
And I just remember the blue goes to
Well, I do have a,
2 and black goes to 3.
I deal with tonight, if they need to, come out and do something.
All right, so let me take a picture of
I
this.
don't know where these things come from, I don't think it's right. Come in, you know, on something and then they, you know, go wherever.
I'm pretty sure that's how it works, but I really don't know what they would be writing.
Okay, and then-
Right on.
Yeah.
And then as far as your
Well,